Hey, welcome. Thank you for joining us during the lucky lunch hour.
Yeah.
We're going to turn the energy up.
Yes.
And then get some barbecue. You've been smelling it all morning. Now we get to eat it.
Perfect.
My name is Bobbi. I work at Atmosphere. For those of you who may be less familiar with the brand, we are a media and entertainment company uniquely based actually right here in Austin, Texas. We're making TV fun to watch when you leave the house. Very simply put, we have a gigantic, massive footprint in Austin, so hopefully you get to check it out while you're bopping around town. Just look up at the bars and the restaurants. It's the fun TV playing Chive TV or Happy TV. That's us. We're also at the gym if you choose to make time for that this week. And if you miss it, we're also at the airport bar. So really can't miss it. And more importantly, I'm joined today with Scott, who is also at a Texas-based brand, Whataburger. Yeah, see? Oh my gosh. Our state's crown jewel of a brand, which we'll get into. But prior to joining Whataburger, Scott was responsible for marketing other iconic brands like Torchy's Tacos, Dick's Sporting Goods, Mars, Popeyes, Dunkin'. We have a lot to learn from you today, no pressure.
Thank you. Continually fattening America.
Then playing some sports.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with a hard hitter,
Okay.
A controversial question we did not talk about in the prep. Scott, can you tell us how to properly pronounce Whataburger?
That is a topic of great discussion. It is Whataburger. And the quick history on that is when Harmon Dobson founded the brand in 1950, 75 years ago, he wanted a burger that you would hold with two hands, take a bite, and say, "What a burger." Now, I have been included on meeting invites that say, "Whataburger." What's a burger? But it is what a burger. 3 syllables, 4 syllables. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hot topic here in Texas because I think depending on where you're from, the dialect comes out.
There's probably some parts of the state where it is Whataburger. You just say it super fast,
South
but it's
Texas.
What a burger. So I would appreciate you all helping spread that pronunciation gospel.
Yeah, so speaking of Texas, obviously we may have some locals in the crowd. I'm actually from Corpus Christi, Texas, which has never been a claim for fame for me or maybe anyone until this moment, because it's also the home of the original Whataburger. And it's been said that this brand has a cult-like following in the state of Texas. I can confirm, as a self-proclaimed cult member, we had Whataburger at our wedding. True story. So my question for you is, how do you continue to build the brand? Because it ain't just a Texas thing.
Yeah.
We're in 16 states. Whataburger is in 16 states.
Yeah.
Outside of Texas, right? So how do you market a brand beyond these borders, but don't sort of alienate or abandon the OGs?
Yeah, that's a great question, and something we talk about, wrestle with every day, including our great partners from McJ who are here. We had a long, lengthy discussion on that yesterday. We are a Texas brand. We are a proud Texas brand formed in 1950 in Corpus Christi, Texas. Our office is now in San Antonio, Texas. And so we have 1,100 units in 16 states, but about 73% of our locations are in the great state of Texas. So Texas is super important to us, and we will always be incredibly proud of our Texas heritage. It influences our values, it influences our menu items, and we think it's great to take Texas to other parts of the country. And yeah, obviously we'll make some adjustments where we need to, but Texas is such an integral part of our brand and will always be, and we're incredibly proud to be from the state of Texas.
Nice. Yeah, I would imagine like brand awareness or affinity, not a problem here, but in new states, like South Carolina, where maybe it's a customer's first engagement or interaction, the marketing looks very different?
Yeah, I mean, so we entered South Carolina last year, super successful. And, we didn't really open a whole lot of restaurants outside of Texas for many years. We turned that muscle back on in 2022. So now, we've entered Nashville, Atlanta, Kansas, South Carolina. We'll enter North Carolina this year. Tampa next year. Those places aren't sitting around saying, you know what we need? We need one more burger place. So we've got to come in and earn our way. And I think what we focus on is big, bold flavors, great hospitality, please and thank you, hot food hot, cold food cold, not super complicated. But we've got to win that business. And so part of it is what makes us different is, yes, we're from Texas, but we bring big, bold flavors, unique menu items that are going to really stand out from some of our competitors.
Cool. So we're here at South by. I want to hear about your South by activation. But also, one of the things I love personally about South by is it's this convergence of all sorts of brands from all sorts of industries, right? You see Whataburger, you see fashion brands here, you see tech brands here, and they're doing really cool displays and experiential activations to bring those brands to life. We also see brands partnering with other brands in really unique, fun, and interesting ways. Whataburger, no stranger to this. You guys just announced a collab with Wranglers, which I love. Would love to sort of peel back the curtain on those different collabs, how they come to life, and why they're important for the strategy.
Yeah, we have an incredible retail team that goes and seeks these out, from unique partnerships. Like the Wrangler one feels like, a great overlap of a Venn diagram. Although Wrangler's not based in Texas, they're the spirit of Texas and have a strong fan base in Texas. And so with the Water Wrangler line has launched with fantastic products. I don't know that I'm cool enough to wear them, but they look really good. We did a nice launch of that in Vegas back in December. That's a great collab. But then maybe the complete opposite of Wrangler was we did a collab this past summer with Vineyard Vines. So when you need to be preppy out on the Cape, you can wear Whataburger and Vineyard Vines clothing. And so, Vineyard Vines, Wrangler, we do a lot with Texas brands. So Staunch Hats, Texas Standard Clothing. We did a collab with True brand, which is the upside down. And again, not cool enough to wear that, but we launched that and we sold about 50,000 worth of merchandise in about a minute, which is incredible to take those two brands. And we try and find brands that are, we obviously want to partner with other cool brands. We think we're kind of cool, but partner with cool brands that can, put us in front of people and put us in front of an audience that otherwise we might not reach with our traditional marketing channels. And
is it the younger audience that you're sort of gearing those strategies towards?
Yeah, younger is a big part of it. It's the QSR space. The average consumer is traditionally a little older. Young people use the brand a lot. And so we want to make sure that in this world of partnerships and collabs that we are using that force for good to hit that younger consumer.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the QSR industry. So, obviously, this. It's very competitive. You mentioned it earlier. Do we need another burger place? I'm curious what the trends are happening in QSR. We've even seen brands in the casual dining space coming directly for QSR in terms of value proposition. So I would love to hear, what is the strategy to stand out? And is it value? Is it menu? What are you sort of staunchly focused on?
Yeah, obviously value is a huge part of the QSR space, always has been, probably always will be, but we're not really a value brand. Like one of our key brand pillars is about the freshness of our products. 100% fresh beef, never frozen, 100% from the U.S. we haven't quite cracked how to market this saying, but if you eat a burger at Whataburger, that cow was mooing not long ago. Like, that's how fresh it is.
We're going to workshop that.
Yeah, that's a tough one to crack. But like, our product is super fresh. It's never frozen. And there's an inherent cost structure in that doesn't allow us to do a $2 burger or anything like that. Where we win, though, is the quality of our product, the experience, and we're big believers in the value equals price over experience. So price definitely plays a role. And from time to time, we'll do really aggressive things to our rewards members. But where we're going to win is that overall experience in terms of the freshness of the product, the hospitality that you get in our restaurants.
Yeah, and our people are sitting down in the restaurant.
Yes, but in a decreasing number day by day. So, about 85% of our business is outside of the building. It's between drive-through, takeout, curbside pickup. I've ordered on the mobile app and I pick it up. So we are focused on driving those people through. But we still got to be hospitable and nice to them as well. Like, you don't want to be rude in the drive-thru and a saint in the building. We've got to make sure that whatever channel you're using the brand, that you're experiencing the great tasting food and our brand hospitality and values and the Texas hospitality.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a room full of marketers, executives, media, buyers and sellers. Let's give the people what they want. Scott, what's the secret sauce? How do you decide where to invest that's most effective? Where are you leaning in, particularly this year, in strategies that you think work?
Yeah, we use them all. So I'm sure we buy from several of you in the room, whether it's TV, radio, a lot of digital, social. I don't know that we have an exact formula. Like, in some markets, we need awareness. And so TV is the best way to just drive quick awareness with that. In some markets, like a Texas, we need it, but we can be a little more surgical with digital and some very precise things like that. I'm a big fan of some of the more broad-based things too. I just think for QSR, you really need to be super big, top of the funnel. So, we still buy a lot of TV and radio, and then supplement it with digital purchases.
And all regionally focused.
Right now, we're all regionally focused.
It's a franchise model. So how much of your business is?
Yeah, so that's another thing. Most people don't know this. So we have 1,100 locations. 80% of them are corporate owned. So we own 80%, 20% are franchisee owned. So which is pretty counter to almost everybody in the QSR, especially in the burger space. So we think that's a differentiator too, and we're going to be focused on that. And we think we'll continue on that kind of 80-20 split for the foreseeable future as we grow.
And that gives you a little more control on the corporate owned.
Yeah, having worked at a Dunkin' that is 100% franchise, I feel like we can carry a little bigger stick now.
Nice. Cool. So it is a very big year for Whataburger. For those of you, it is the 75th anniversary of the brand. I know you have a lot of fun stuff planned. Yeah. Congrats.
Let's go.
That's nice. Including a giant activation at South by. So tell us, this is the brand's first activation at South by, which actually surprised me. So tell us about how it came to life. Tell us what it is, and also what's coming up this year. I know you got some surprises.
I think we've been activating at South by since day one, late night in our restaurants. There's been a lot of activation there. But yeah, so back in, and this all goes to the team sitting here. I've only been here a year, but back in kind of late 19, early 20. The thought was, take all this amazing fan art that we get. People send in photographs of Whataburger, paintings of Whataburger, actual physical art of Whataburger, just because we are such a beloved brand. And the thought was, let's create a Whataburger Museum of Art. And so the plan was sometime in early 2020 that would happen. Well, we all know what happened in early 2020. So it just shifted to Instagram and became an online piece. And so our thought was, we've always talked about, okay, we really want to bring this to life in some way. And what better time than our 75th anniversary? Let's toot our own horn a little bit and celebrate the love that our fans have for this brand. So tomorrow and Sunday over at Wanderlust Wine Co., 35 in between 6th and 7th, the Whataburger Museum of Art will come to life. And it features hundreds of pieces that people have created, that we brought some digital work to life, some physical art. And the thing that I'm most excited about is if you've ever been to Whataburger, you're familiar with Whataburger, when you sit in the restaurant, you walk up and order, and then we give you a table tent that identifies where to take your order. Some people, like Bobbi, have stolen those table tents over the years. We actually encourage that. We love for people to take their table tents. And so at the Whataburger Museum of Art, you'll be able to get your mugshot for collecting your table tent, as well as take your very own personalized, not personalized, but 75th Wamoa South by Southwest table tent. So you can add one to your collection.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Will you sign it? You also announced a partnership with Lainey Wilson. Is there any other, can you let us in on some other surprises?
Yeah, so for a hat, which I have here, can anyone name the last Whataburger spokesperson before Lainey Wilson? Well, Bobby Witt Jr. in the summer, but before that, before the last 9 months. Any guesses? He's a big fan. He's signed up with another brand, but there's some people in this room that have had conversations with him, a couple rows behind you, who can attest to his fandom. Yeah.
What year? Give us a hint.
1998. Nolan Ryan. Who said Nolan Ryan? You're the proud winner of a hat. So yeah. So we don't do a lot of spokespeople. It hasn't been part of our DNA, but we want to have spokespeople, like in this kind of attention economy that we're in. We want other people to tell the story about how great Whataburger is, not just us tooting our own horn. So in the summer, we signed Bobby Witt Jr., great player, great baseball player for the Kansas City Royals, grew up in Colleyville, Texas, going with his girlfriend, now wife, after every game to Whataburger. That's just what he did. And so we signed him, and then we shot again with our great partners in McJay, a great commercial about going back to his hometown high school baseball field with his dad, who was also a major league player, and talking about how after every game they went to Whataburger, and we had his wife, then girlfriend, in the spot, and his friends, and it's all about getting the W, get the W in the game and get the W after the game with the Whataburger. So authentic brand connection. And then the same with Lainey Wilson. She didn't grow up in Texas, but grew up in Louisiana, and would talk about how it was a big day in her family when they would drive the 30, 45 minutes to Whataburger for dinner. And then as she has started her career touring around in the Southeast, we're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We close a day and a half every year, and for Christmas, and that's it. So she's touring, and late at night when she's done with the gig, Whataburger is one of, if not the only place open. So a lot of honey butter chicken biscuits. We serve breakfast from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. And so again, a very authentic brand connection. And we have a spot with her dropping next week, which we're really excited about, kind of telling that story and how she's used Whataburger in her career.
Yeah, we'll hear the word authenticity a lot this week, but it is a perfect example. You just find those organic stories and tell them. Yeah. It sounds simple. I know it's actually harder in execution, but.
Yeah, and we started with a pretty big list of people to look at who are huge, and that was kind of the first filter is, did they grow up with Whataburger? Do they know the brand? And if the answer was no, it was like, hey, maybe something else down the road, but not right now.
I'm available, Scott. We have 2 hats. Should we trivia? Yeah. No pressure.
All right. Well, I think we've given a lot of the easy ones away. So let's see if you guys were paying attention. How many Whataburger locations are there in the U.S.? 1,100. Okay, very good. Front row. You sit in the front row in college too?
Bonus points for speed.
Yes.
Should we take some questions?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
That's great.
All right, Scott, actually, given your work history, quick question. What's your favorite hue of orange, Dunkin' or Whataburger?
That's a tough
I'm not
one.
going to put you on the spot. You go.
Yeah, it's Whataburger.
Yeah, I figured as much right now. All right, you talked about the quality of the product winning out as you go into South Carolina, you go into these other states, but I'm curious from a tactical standpoint as a marketer, how do you think about entering a new territory, right? You talked about the media mix having everything, but do you have a blueprint when you enter a new territory? Like seed it with this, follow up with this. Like how does that tactical approach to entering a new state, new territory go?
Well, the good news is the architect of said approach is sitting on your row. So I'm going to start talking. If she nods her head.
Should I pass the mic down?
You
then?
probably should. But, I think we go in early. So we'll go in early with food trucks and well, it even starts before that. We'll go in and meet community leaders, meet the mayor, meet the town council, whatever the case may be, meet some of the nonprofits, and then follow that up when we break ground. We'll bring the food truck and feed everybody, because we want people to know that we're coming into the market. We also want people to know this is a place you can work. Like we need people to work these restaurants. We're not a restaurant full of robots. We need people. And so we want to be a part of the community. And one of the things about the brand that I failed to mention too is like being a part of the community is super important to us, So especially in Texas, if you've been a part of any high school team, activity, club, whatever, you have eaten Whataburger as a part of that. And so we want to replicate that as we go to the Carolinas and Georgia. So it's all about kind of getting into that community, and then we start the more traditional marketing activities.
A great example of that is I went to Texas A&M, and there's a Whataburger right across the street from campus, but we don't like the color orange in College Station. So there's one maroon stripe down the restaurant iconic pitched roof. It's perfect.
Yeah. We have about 85 different sponsorships from, the Cowboys to high schools and local little leagues that we track. And then, every, I don't know if anybody's big college football fans, but there are a ton of D1 college football schools in Texas, and we sponsor all of them. And so we will make little adjustments like that. My son goes to University of Arkansas, so it's orange, and then there's a big maroon Razorback on the side of the building.
Any other questions? I saw one here back there. Oh.
Does this work? Yeah. Since McGarrett Jesse's here and Scott, you are as well. Have you guys, when the storms hit, and for those of you who aren't aware, electricity gets knocked out in Texas a lot, and people use the Whataburger app to basically track where things are turned on and off. Have y'all just decided, do you lean into that? Do you stay out of it because it's an emergency? How do you utilize the press that you get?
Yeah, so the background on that, I wish I could say we all sat in a room and said, hey, when this hurricane hits, we're going to do this, but it was kind of dumb luck. There was one guy who took a screenshot of the Whataburger app, and we keep it, updated. If a restaurant is closed, then it's gray. If it's open, it's orange. And he just took a screenshot of the app and said, this is better than tracking the power companies to know where the power's on and where the power's off. And it just took off. And, we did interviews in Mexico and the U.S. But the way we thought about it was, we're going to talk about it, but let's make sure that we have restaurants open as quickly as we can. Let's feed the utility workers who are out there trying to get power back on. Let's get our food truck there so we can feed them where they are, and they don't have to stop and come to Whataburger. So lean in a little bit on let's talk about it when we get asked, but lean in more of, all right, how can we go and be a real part of this community and help them in their time of need?
Hey, Scott, Les Harrison from Outfront Media. Appreciate the Whataburger billboard up in Kansas City. You had mentioned that you've got some, Lonnie Wilson, and I'm wondering, as you get into these markets and you're partnering with all the local sports teams, how NIL fits into that mix for the brand.
Yeah, great question. Still feels to us a little bit like the Wild West a bit, but we dipped our toe in it this past year. So we did a football food truck tour. So took our food truck on the road, kind of in our footprint. The usual suspects you'd expect: Texas, Texas A&M, LSU, Georgia, Clemson, and we partnered with On3 and did some NIL work around that. And so obviously you can't really have the football team come to the food truck 2 hours before the game, but you can have Livy Dunn and others come, the gymnasts, basketball players, baseball players, and then we'd have football players go visit the restaurant earlier in the week. So we like it a lot. We think of it as just like we think of kind of an influencer program. These are, young people who have a great social media following, and we can leverage it. It's a great way to extend our existing partnerships with some of the schools. So big fan.
Hi. So you talked about bringing community to markets before you penetrate them. I'm curious how you decide to penetrate a market in the first place. For example, I live in Chicago. I think if you did research and asked any Chicagoan, they would say we absolutely need more burger places. So just curious.
Yeah, there's a whole Chicago thing we can talk about offline. But there's a guy that goes on every single one of our Instagram posts, and I think he's up to like day 300. He just says day 300 of asking you to come to St. Louis. So that's a data point, and love this guy's passion. But there's a lot, like we look at, are these markets growing or are they contracting in population? What is the real estate situation like? Are there new developments? What's the competitive landscape like? We try and keep it somewhat in our footprint, if you will. So, we opened Georgia a few years ago. Well, we were already in Alabama and the western part of Florida, so pretty close. Now we open South Carolina, now we'll go to North Carolina. So we try really not to go around just putting pins on a map, like, oh, let's go plant the flag in LA and let's go to New York and open one. Like that doesn't work super well for a lot of people. So we've tried to be somewhat contiguous, but then also looking at what are the key kind of population metrics in those markets. Chicago, we're going to get there. It might be a minute, but we'll get there.
There's not a single breakfast taco in all of Chicago. I lived there for 11 years. So for that reason alone, come on.
Maybe the food truck shows up in Chicago sometime.
We'll test. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I think we might have time for one more question. Maybe not. I don't know.
Hey, Josh from Been There, Done That here. Thanks for the talk. It's super interesting. I'd love to just ask a little bit more about, in your role as CMO and building, a modern marketing team, are you seeing the capabilities you're looking to kind of bring in-house and the team that you build and that extension to kind of your agency partners as well? Are you seeing those skills and capabilities shifting and what you're sort of demanding?
Yeah. I'm going to say by your accent, we may not have a Whataburger there anytime soon.
Yeah, my next question is when are you coming to the UK?
Yeah. University of Kentucky, maybe, not necessarily the UK. I think, one of the great things about being in marketing is just how it's evolved and how it's changed and changes every year. What works today probably isn't going to work 100% in 2 years. So, our agency partners, our internal team, I'm sure 10, 15 years ago, we had a massive print team and agency focusing on print, and we do an incredibly small amount of that now. So, I think it's just like looking at how are we going to continue to evolve and make sure we're covering the basics, but also that we're prepared for kind of what's next and cutting edge through our agency partners and the internal team.
All right. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you, Whataburger. Thank you, MCJ. I see you guys.